Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I would like to invite all the devotees to maybe come out little bit outside of your comfort zone, and if you can switch on your cameras. It's always wonderful to connect with various devotees rather than staring at a blank screen. So if possible, maybe you can switch on your cameras. For today's Japa Talk, uh, it's more than me. All of you would have to work it around. So I would like to request if you can have a pen and paper along with you. And no laptop, computer, or writing on mobile phones. I would like to request, in case if it's possible, in next 30 seconds, try to arrange a pen and a paper along with you. We'll be doing some small exercise, and for that we may need something to write upon. Okay, so I'll just wait for another 20 to 30 seconds. And meanwhile, I would really like to request if you can switch on your cameras, at least for some time. So I'll start with a small story. I hear it directly from a Prabhupada disciple in 2018 when I was in Mayapur, morning Bhagavatam class happening in Panch Tattva Hall there. So she was a lady disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I'm sorry, I cannot remember her name right now. She was sharing her experience of Krishna conscious journey. She was very active member and of the movement when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet. When Srila Prabhupada left after some years, there were a lot of challenges in the movement and in her personal life. So she became separated from the devotees. She put herself away from the devotee association. And in her old age, she had finally come to Mayapur again to be in the Sangha of devotees. And of her life, she was sharing one experience. She said, I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things that were recommended and that were not recommended. She said, there's one thing that I never left, and that was chanting japa. And she was giving an example of an airplane. She said, when an airplane crashes down, how does one find out where are its traces? Through the black box, right? They try to figure it out, what kind of signals are emanating from the black box, try to locate their location, try to trace that down. So she said, chanting Hare Krishna is like a black box of our spiritual journey. Till the time we are chanting Hare Krishna, there's always a connection, a communication with Krishna. We are connected to Krishna. And even if something happens, some or other, Krishna will locate us, find us, put us back. So she was sharing in those terms how she almost left everything, but she did not leave her japa. And that is how in her old age, she had finally come to Sri Mayapur Dham to render devotional service and to leave the body there. There are many interesting stories in terms of chanting Hare Krishna. I was hearing one of the lectures of Radhika Raman Prabhu, and he was sharing couple of years back, uh, actually there was one Srila Prabhupada disciple, another disciple, who joined the movement, but in the course of time, he left devotee association. Devotees also forgot him. He also forgot devotees. And now, just couple of years back, His Holiness Romapad Swami Maharaj, along with some of our other God brothers, suddenly decided that we need to locate that person, our God brother. Where is he now and how is he doing? This is in Boston, USA. So they inquired a lot and lot and lot. They searched about him a lot and lot and lot. And they finally was able to locate him. He was in an old age home in Boston. And he, I forgot the, yeah, he had a very severe case of Parkinson, which is, I think, a brain degenerative disease. He had forgotten everything. He did not remember his family. He did not remember his relatives. And yet, when devotees went to that old age home and they met the reception and they said, "We have come to meet such and such person." And this reception asked them, "Oh, are you a family?" So they said, "No, we are a part of the same religious movement. We are his God brothers and we are from Hare Krishnas." So as soon as the receptionist hear that word Hare Krishna, she became so happy and she became so glad that you have come, and she became extremely happy. It's so wonderful. And they inquired from receptionist, what happened? So she said, this person doesn't remember anything. I mean, he has to be taken care of completely, and he can't even brush his own teeth. You know, he said, but there is one thing that he always insists. In the evening, in the meeting hours, he chant this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And he insists that everyone else chant along with him. So this mantra gives him happiness, and this mantra gives happiness to all other members as well. So, of course, this was example in a very different context, in the sense how Krishna takes care of his devotees. This person has forgotten everything, but externally he was in such a pitiable condition. Externally he was, anyone would think why Krishna would put a devotee in such a condition when he says, Name Bhakta Pranishyate. But from a devotee's point of view, what had happened? He had remembered Krishna. He forgot everything. He had forgotten everything, and the only thing he was remembering are the holy names of Krishna. So, chanting is a great privilege. I'm sure in all the previous classes, you may have heard a lot of glories about the holy name. And at certain point in our heart, our intent is there to chant Japa to become devotees of Krishna. So now in today's Japa class, I would like to focus on few questions. And I want I invite all of you to reflect upon those questions and write some answers to them in your own notebook. So the first question is, what is my aspiration for my personal Japa? Externally, we may say, okay, I'm very fallen. I'm not qualified to chant pure name. And I have so many anarthas and I have so many challenges. And I have so many such and such inappropriate habits. I may say all of that. But in our hearts of heart, certainly we have some aspirations in terms of devotional life. Otherwise, on a Sunday morning, why we would have been here? We would have been easily sleeping. We would have been spending time with our families. Certainly that intent is there, right? So please maybe reflect upon that and write down at least 2 to 3 points. What is my aspiration for my personal japa? How, if all of those things are removed. Let us say Krishna comes and says, all your anarthas, where's all your distractions, everything gone. How would you like to chant japa if given an option? There are many Vaishnava bhajans you may want to reflect, just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his bhajans saying, I want to roam like a madman, leaving all the anxieties, forgetting all the worries of this world on the bank of Ganga, chanting Nityananda Gauranga, right? Uh, so what are your aspirations? I want to chant, I want to be so absorbed in japa that there is no stopping. uh, or and I want to chant the pure holy name of Krishna, chant in such a way that the connection with uh, Shri Radha Krishna is a very personal and intimate. Anything, it can be any reflection. What are your own aspirations for japa? Don't write that I'm so fallen that I have no aspirations. Write something. Write at least one point. Maybe I want to my only aspiration of japa is that when I sit down to japa, I'm able to complete my rounds without checking on my mobile. That's far as I can go right now. But write something. What what do you intend to do? Okay. Done. Everyone has written at least one point. Now, next question. Write down the name of at least one devotee or as many devotees as you can, but at least one whom you see as a role model, uh, specifically for Japan. Any character, any personality from Bhagavatam, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from devotees around, from your own community, from ISKCON worldwide community, write down whatever name comes to your mind that those devotees have touched your heart uh, somewhere, and you would really want to you take inspiration from them, from their spiritual practices, and specifically from their japa meditation. I remember I saw once a clip of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj chanting japa, and he was chanting japa in such a deep absorption. It was not to show anyone, it was not to do any other thing. I mean, just watching him chant japa, once in Mayapur and once on a video clip. I watched him just for maybe 60 seconds, 120 seconds, it had to happen. But those 1 minute and those, had such a profound impact on my consciousness, right? Similarly, in our temple, this Rukmani Krishna Prabhu is there. You know, I went once. I went to talk to him, sir, about anything, about certain thing in his room, and I saw in room when no one is watching him, right? He could be doing anything along with japa. He was so sitting so straight and absorbed in his chanting practice. I had no strength to disturb him for anything. He was so absorbed, and I felt so inspired. So reflect on your own life. Who are some of the devotees, from whom you seek inspiration for japa? Write down at least one name. Yes, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur is there. And there are many other Vaishnavas as well, the six Goswamis, the Acharyas. But write down any specific name. They have to. I mean, that name may be there, but if we don't know about his japa and we don't know about any specific pastime, so I may know that person theoretically, but the question says I mean, it really has to touch your heart. At least one or two. Do we really seek inspiration and connection from them? Okay, let's go to next question. Please mention, write down what are uh, three challenges in your japa practice. Reflect uh, upon the pattern of your japa from your last various days. Write down what are the three challenges you face while chanting japa. For example, I can share one of my challenges. If there is mobile next to me, so I know I will be very attentive for first one round, two round, three round. But there will be a point when my mind will become distracted, and the immediate solution would be just to pick up my mobile and check some messages. So if I have to chant attentive japa, I know I have to be in separate room than my own mobile, and that's the only way I can be attentive, right? Uh, any three challenges, the challenge can be maybe I'm not able to chant fixed number of rounds every day. It can be about a certain and certain distractions. The chanting may seem very, very mechanical. Don't feel anything. I question myself, why am I doing? Why am I even got connected to ISKCON and devotees? Now I have to chant every day. It can be anything. Just write down one, two, or three challenges, most common challenges for you in your own personal life. Okay. Now comes a challenging question. Not a challenging question, it's a task. Uh, in next 120 seconds, you have your aspirations in front of you, you have some role models, and you have some challenges in front of you. Specifically for aspirations in your japa, draw a picture, express yourself by drawing a picture. I know uh, we may not be the artist, it doesn't have to be the best picture, we may not have to share it with someone, but at least draw something in terms of your aspirations for your japa. It can be anything, you know. For example, I'm very inspired by, when that chapter, Krishna playing his flute, and Prabhupada writes that chanting Hare Krishna is Krishna playing flute, that these are non-different. So whatever inspires you, try to give a picture to it. It's fun. I mean, it doesn't have to be very serious. You can draw anything, but draw something. So you may try to draw simply Radha Krishna, flute, maybe just a Japa Mala. That Japa Mala is so sacred for you. Anything, it can be anything, but trying to express it. Okay. So now, normally, we would have loved to share our answers with each other and seek some solution to these challenges with each other. And I think we have to continue till 7:50, right? So there are only 6 minutes remaining. So we may not have time to do that, but I would like to encourage all of you, if you know each other in the group, connect with each other and share your reflection. And maybe you can type in the chat section quickly any answer to any of this question, and we can get to read. We get to share and read each other's aspirations and take inspiration from them. So maybe you can write in the chat section any one point that you have written to any question. You can write your aspiration, you can write your challenge, or any name of any devotee from whom you seek inspiration. And while in the concluding part, I would like to share a few points related to my own experience and journey about Japa. So please keep writing in the chat section. And while we continue simultaneously, okay? But everyone needs to write at least one point, please, right? You can write either challenge, you can write the name of any devotee who inspires you in Japa, or you can write any one point related to your own aspiration of Japa. Do write something in the chat section, okay? So now, I was reflecting upon what should I speak upon Japa, and I thought I'll reflect about my own challenges and experiences. I've converted them into certain points, and I'll quickly go through those points. So first and foremost thing that helps me chant Japa in a better way is my health. If I'm taking better care of my health, if I'm doing regular yoga, if there is a movement in life, it impacts the psyche, it impacts my mind. I'm much more enlivened to do anything. So first and foremost, if we are able to take better care of our health, versus if I'm in a poor health, or even if I'm not moving, I'm not ill, but there's no movement in life. If I'm sitting at the same place throughout the day, every day, and I'm not doing any exercise or any yoga asanas, it just overall impacts, it brings lethargy in life. And that also reflects in the japa. So first point is related to our health. Second thing that really helps me is the space. If I'm chanting japa in my own room, where there is a bed next to it, where the things may not be, absolutely organized and clean 100% of the time, uh, and if I'm in a room where no one is watching me, I may sit very casually. I may do something other things apart from japa. I may open a book, and while I'm chanting japa, I may try to scan the book and so on. But if I'm in the temple hall, in this association of devotees, I've seen the japa intensity is quite high. So the space really matters. In which space you are chanting japa. That is why we all encourage you, come to temple in the morning hours, sit with devotees, and chant japa. It really brings it pushes us out from our comfort zone, and have a very wonderful impact. And vice versa, if the space is not good, it can impact us adversely. But at least till the time we are conditioned in the three modes, these factors for Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, any space and anywhere, it works fine. But till the time we are in association of in under the grip of modes of nature, space, choose your space nicely. Uh, uh, have a very sacred space, so as to say. Third thing that I mentioned is timing. Yes, there are no hard and fast rules. You can chant anytime, any place, any condition. Yet at the same time, when we are talking about japa practice, there are certain times in the day which are in a sattva, there is more sattva guna, there is less rajas and tamas. And one of such time is Brahma Muhurat, early morning hours. So chanting japa in early morning hours when there is Shuddh Sattva and there is so much of peace and calmness, that has a very different impact versus trying to chant in afternoon when there are kamwalis, when there are outside there are so much of traffic and noise and there are so many people around, and I may be chanting but that quality may not be there. So some days it's bound to happen, that's life. But if it's happening on a regular base, then I can try to adjust my schedule in such a way that I can chant in early morning hours. Simple points you may have heard many times, but they really, really, really are very, very powerful. These are very basics to any meditation. Fourth point I've written as a separate point, mobile phone. Uh, Chanting with mobile phone and chanting without mobile phone are different. Okay. We are chanting japa at the same time. We are handling our mobile phone. That is not the same as chanting japa without any distraction. So one of the common disease and disorder is addiction to mobile phone, so much so that it just spills over at all areas of our life. Try to protect yourself from that. Have mobile phones throughout the day, no problem. But take a commitment for 2 hours. These are my personal time with Krishna, and I won't allow anyone to interfere in that. The fourth is Srila Prabhupada writes as deity worship. And the famous verse, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. What would you expect Srila Prabhupada to elaborate upon? About holy names. But he elaborates upon deity worship in that verse and Panchratrika Vidhi, how they go side by side. So when we are worshipping deity, see, holy name is what? It's not different from Krishna. Deity worship is serving Krishna as well. So we have to develop a taste. The actual relationship has to be there with Krishna. Then only we would like to love to recite his name. If there is no personal relationship, there's no personal service, and that's challenging. Another one is that really helps is reading Srila Prabhupada books regularly. Reading Srila Prabhupada books is such fundamental, such founding pillar of our spiritual life. It is so important, yet it is the most neglected part in the lives of majority of devotees, including brahmacharis, including grahasthas. You know, uh, uh, there are no, so as to say, external vahavahi about that. If you bring in a lot of money, you're famous, such Prabhu did such service. If you distribute so many books, you're famous, if you do any other thing which is seen by others, we often tend to do those things. But swadhyay and reading is your own personal nourishment, which may not be seen by outside world, but it is the most found. It's such so important. It really tunes our consciousness in a devotional service, and that impacts our japa a lot. Had japa would have been the essence of everything, which it is, but Prabhupada did not just write chanting Hare Krishna is the sum and substance, and there's no need of books. Just chant japa and you'll be happy. There was certain importance. That is why, along with giving holy names, Prabhupada translated all the books. Another one is preaching. I may not be serious in my own japa, But when I go out and share Krishna consciousness with others, and when I explain the glories of holy names to others, I'm forced to forced to meditate upon this. You know, and that is why even if you are chanting in this group, you will notice that if you are chanting when the camera is on versus when you're chanting the camera is off, there would be a difference. You know, uh, when we are preaching, it brings more accountability. Okay, some other person is watching me, they're depending on. So it really helps me bring out from my comfort zone. And lastly, sometimes we tend to think that there is japa, 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 and there's all that is there in Krishna consciousness is japa. But there are so much variety of uh, features in devotional life. There's 64 limbs of devotional service. So it's not that out of those 64, japa is everything, right? Japa is everything when all other things are also simultaneously present, right? Uh, so sometimes we become too fanatical about japa that we tend to ignore all other things. Don't do that mistake. You know, worshipping Tulsi is also important. Going to pilgrimage is also important. Yeah, attending Mangal Aarti, reading Bhagavatam, all those 64 limbs that are there, taking care of cows, you're doing some practical service. There is such variety. So wherever your taste is, wherever your inclination is, cultivate that. And once you do that, it will parallelly impact your japa. So take it as a wholesome package, not just one thing. That we are talking about japa, that we understand, but we understand that spiritual life is full of variety and it is a wholesome package. Don't just uh, take something in isolation. Everything is connected with each other. That's why Prabhupada gave us whole morning program and a whole such wonderful things. Okay, I think the time is up. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's ki jai.
Thank you very much. So, if you allow, we will open the floor for any questions or comments. It was a wonderful session, very, very interactive, and you made it so lively. So I think so all the devotees would have enjoyed today's session, which was very unique and special. So can I open the floor for questions? Yes. Devotees, you can unmute yourself or drop your question on the chat or raise your hand.
Many of you mentioned about certain challenges. So maybe just take any one challenge, approach devotees next to you and ask them, Prabhuji and Mataji, what do you think? What are some of the ways I can overcome this challenge? And you can write yourself also. You may have all the answers. Just write it down. And that would be a very good beginning. Yeah. Okay, I think there are no questions. And
Yeah.
Wonderful thing.
There seems to be Hare Krishna. Can we leave material world, family completely to join full-time spiritual life?
Can we leave material world, family, completely to join full-time spiritual life? Everything depends upon the context of this question. And there is no clear-cut answers of questions like this. It depends who you are, at what junction of life is, what are your aspirations, if you are at a certain life, if you have taken a family responsibility, you need to fulfill those dharma. The family can be transformed into spiritual family. The material world can be transformed into spiritual world, and we can happily do that. Sometimes this question comes from a place of escapism, that I'm so fed up of my all these things, botheration. Spiritual life is peaceful, calm. It gives me happiness. Let me leave all this. And sometimes this question is from a place of irresponsibility, that I want to leave family life, but I carry the same tendency of whenever certain challenge comes in spiritual life, or there's a scenario of taking responsibility in service of Krishna. But if I have the same attitude and I don't have those actual realizations, then I would do the same thing in spiritual life. Sometimes this question is from a genuine place of renunciation and fulfillment, that you are at the last junction of your life. You have already completed all your responsibilities and it's now time to move on. And for such person, it's welcome. But there's no one answer to all the cases. It depends upon who you are, at which stage of life is. And certainly if we are in a grahastha ashram, I think fulfilling our not to see family as an obstruction in your spiritual life, but rather taking steps to integrate different aspects of Krishna consciousness in the current status of your life. I don't know you as a person. I don't know what you have gone through. I don't know which junction of life is. It would be very difficult for me to answer. So I've just answered it the broadly terms. Arjuna, for him, listening Bhagavad Gita at one junction it meant fighting, right? He was supposed to fight after reading Bhagavad Gita. But same Arjuna, same message of Bhagavad Gita at a later junction, when he remembered when he was defeated by cowherd boys in Bhagavatam first canto. When he remembered those instructions of Bhagavad Gita, it meant retire, just go to the forest, right? So same message, Bhagavad Gita, same personality, Arjuna. At one junction of life, it means to fight, and at another junction, it meant to give up and to move on. So it depends, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Certainly, whatever elements of devotional life are there, the four regulative principles of service to Krishna, the chanting of Japa, reading Bhagavatam, it can be done in all circumstances of life. Whatever is the present circumstance, try to be fixed in your practices in the current circumstance. Don't run away, just try to face. That's a general principle. Okay, Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thanks for your time today and for helping all of us to improve our japa. Thank you. And thanks all of you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. That's my pleasure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
I am also seeking blessings of all of you for my own japa practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dharam Pranam to all. Hare Krishna.